exact opposite of what my basement looks like right now.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's fine.
I suffer from the same ailment at home, and fortunately, as I left, I was glad to see things are high and dry. But we'll see.
Just so everybody knows, we are live now and it's being recorded as well.
Okay, we'll stop talking about basements then. I don't have a reply, so maybe just go ahead and get started. And
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Let's call the meeting together for the Research and Collections Committee. Ben, would you take a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Dr. Tom Benzing.
Here.
Dr. Art Evans.
Here.
Lisa Morner.
Present.
Melanie Stowe.
Okay. I trust everyone has had a chance to read the minutes for our last meeting. Does anybody have any comments or corrections?
No.
Do I have a
No
motion to?
comments, but just welcoming Carol to our meeting.
Oh, okay. All right. In the last minutes, that's what you're talking about, Tom?
Yes, I think I told everybody that I had asked Carol to serve, and she's willing to serve on the Research and Collections Committee, so she's a member as well.
Ben, if you would add an amendment for Dr. Benzig welcoming Carol Nash to the committee, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Are there any other comments or corrections on our last meeting's minutes? Do I have a motion to approve them as amended?
So
So
moved.
moved.
That's,
Is there a second?
I can be the second instead of the
All right,
first.
Lisa Morner, you're recognized as seconding the motion. Thank you. Ben, could I get you as well to take a roll call vote, please?
Absolutely. Dr. Art Evans.
Aye.
Dr. Tom Benzing.
Aye.
Lisa Morner.
Aye.
Melanie Stowe.
All right, thank you.
Let's ask for Carol's vote too.
Oh, and Carol Nash.
Hi, and it's Dr. Carol Nash. Thank you. Yes, I'm fine.
Apologies.
All righty. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Has everyone had a chance to, I trust everyone's had a chance to go through the latest set of acquisitions. Does anybody have any comments or questions about the acquisitions? All right. If not, I've signed my form, and Ben, I'm going to email it to you this second.
Fantastic.
And if you would forward it on to the individual members for their signatures too, that would be great. And then we can get that little piece of business formalized.
Absolutely.
Art, may I comment on the acquisitions?
I'm sorry, yes, please.
I just wanted to point out to everyone that we've now acquired 2 9-banded armadillos. One of them hasn't been through the accessioning process yet because we didn't receive it in time. But the one that's listed is the first specimen of 9-banded armadillos for Virginia.
Where was it found?
It was killed by a dog in Russell County.
Okay.
And I'm working on a manuscript with a colleague at the what's now the Department of Wildlife Resources, formerly Game and Inland Fisheries, to describe 9-banded armadillos in Virginia. We think they're coming up from Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Had they been reported here previously?
Never. It's a long story about whether they probably were introduced into Mississippi and Florida in the 1950s from west of the Mississippi River, and they have been expanding their range up into the southeast ever since.
Okay. Well, it's interesting to know. I'll look forward to following up on that.
Sure.
I have a question about the list. What is a flicker? I've never heard of the bird flicker.
Oh, it's a woodpecker.
Okay. Very good.
Any other comments? Okay. Dr. Pritchard, good morning.
Hello, hello.
You're on the air. All right. Before I introduce Dr. Hayden Bassett, I'd just like to say a few words about the activities of the Research and Collections Unit as a whole. I've been completely impressed with everything that you all have done under extraordinary circumstances the last several months. In fact, I hope that some of these programs that you've instituted on Facebook and videos that you've archived on the museum webpage become a permanent feature once things go to the new normal, whatever that is and whenever that is. I think it's great that the curators in particular have gone to such great lengths to continue to engage the public. We're very lucky to have such active curators that do that. And kudos to Ben for your segments that cover the gamut: animals, plants, fungi, a lot of insect stuff there. I'm not so sure about that. I'd tone that down a bit if I were you, Ben, but that's just my opinion.
Hey, no.
But this is great stuff, and it's written in a very engaging manner, and I just think it's great. And again, I don't want to shortchange the curators at all. I think it's terrific that you're out there engaging the audience as well. Please keep up the good work, and if there's anything that the board can do to help support those efforts, don't hesitate in letting us know. Does anybody else have any comments about recent activities in the Research and Collections section? All right. Without further ado, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Hayden Bassett, who is our archaeologist, or soon to be archaeologist. There's a very short write-up of him in the report, and of course that will be made, has been made available to the entire board. But Dr. Bassett, please welcome and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I know that quite a few of you know me, but I think several of us are meeting for the first time. But I'm Hayden Bassett. I will be starting at the museum on August 31st, and have already started to engage quite a bit with grants and whatnot, just to prepare myself to hit the ground running. And I think we'll be able to do that. But just first, before I get into that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I started my career actually at the Virginia Museum of Natural History. And under Dr. Moore, I started as a high school intern there. And soon after that, went on to University of Virginia for my undergraduate, and then the College of William and Mary for my master's and doctorate. Since that time, I've been working in both Virginia and abroad. Right after graduate school, I was at Jamestown, historic Jamestown, where I was a curator there for about a year and a half, and then moved on to the U.S. Navy, where I've been an archaeologist for the past 3 years. My role with the Navy has focused less on Virginia and more on areas where the Navy is more active abroad. Done a lot of work in Kenya, Djibouti, a little bit in Somalia. More recently in the Middle East, I've been in Bahrain, Southern Europe, Italy, Greece, and then just to mix things up, Saginaw, Michigan as well. We have a Naval Reserve Center there that's actually a phenomenal Middle Woodland archaeological site. But all that's to say, my sort of active areas of research, those who've just glanced at my CV, you'll see a lot of Caribbean work in there. I did most of my graduate work in the Caribbean. My dissertation was on a series of slave villages on sugar plantations, 18th and 19th century sugar plantations in northern Jamaica, where I was really trying to use archaeology to understand the ways in which enslaved people created their own sort of social institutions within the conditions, within the confines of slavery. And so I've worked there for a number of years, 3 or 4 years, doing field work, sort of systematically excavating these villages, and then looked at the ways that a material record could inform that. Other than that, I will say that now that I'm moving into this role, this is kind of a dream job for me, so I'm very excited about it. And part of that is because of the region. I grew up in Martinsville and Henry County, and I know the archaeological sites very well along the Smith River. And so I'm excited to announce that I will be starting excavations fairly soon after starting at the museum on some of the late woodland sites along the Smith River. This is an area that was very active from around 1200 to about 1450. There's about a 250 year period where Martinsville and Henry County was just booming with activity. And it's not very well understood. It has been excavated quite a bit by Richard Gravely first and from the 60s through the 80s, but also a little bit by UNC, Steve Davis down at UNC. But most of that has been primarily describing the finds and the features and whatnot, more so than interpreting. And so part of my goal is to really reinvestigate a lot of these major village sites along the Smith River to understand why Henry County, why the Smith River, why this area, when so many other villages and societies are failing, even regionally, particularly towards the south. A lot of the agricultural societies in North Carolina are actually seeing a decline in this period. Down in the Raleigh area, down in even on the the lower reaches of the Dan River, there seems to be a population shift up to the Smith River. And so, and part of my question is why is that happening? And so there's probably a number of reasons, both ecological and social. So stay tuned for that. I will say that I just last week heard from a threatened sites grant that will allow me to, for those in Martinsville and Henry County know, the Lily Pad RV Park. This is a new development in Stanleytown, and it's right on. Unfortunately, it's right on top of about 3 major archaeological sites, and a lot of these sites have what we sort of describe as archaic through late woodland deposits. And so I've done a little bit of work starting in this past June out there, but this grant will allow me to really get in and start to understand some of the larger sites and record them before they are destroyed in about a year from now. So that'll be kind of the first work that I'll get to start at the museum. And then I've got another sort of grant in the pipeline. I've received positive indications on it, but it's to be announced. But that'll allow me to do more substantial, more extensive work up and down the Smith River from the Philpott Dam down to the Smith River Sports Complex. But again, that's forthcoming, so stay tuned on that.
Right.
And so other than that, the last thing I'll just say is, one other sort of side of my research is continued collaborations with the DoD. And this is probably best understood through, have you guys seen the movie Monuments Men? They're actually rebuilding that program right now. And it's through the U.S. Army Reserve. And about 3 or 4 months from now, I'll be donning a uniform just in reserve capacity, not in a full-time capacity, but to actually go and do these short 1 week, 2 week deployments with them just to save and record archaeological sites that are threatened by either armed conflict or natural disasters. So that's sort of a Cliff Notes version of me, but otherwise I'm very excited to start.
Well, fantastic. Welcome home.
Thank you.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Dr. Bassett?
I'll just say, I think that your work is very exciting and it's tremendous that you're able to take all your talent and abilities and bring them home. That doesn't always happen.
Thank you.
That's true. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us this morning. And you are welcome at these meetings anytime. They are not mandatory. I don't want anybody giving up their Saturdays for this, but you're always welcome. We appreciate hearing from all the curators and listen to them highlight their research. That helps me formulate my message to the full board when we meet later in the day. So again, you're always welcome. Does anybody else have any other points of business or comments they would like to bring up this time? All right. Well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting then.
I move that we adjourn after an excellent but short meeting.
I like to think of it as tightly run.
There you
Is there a
go.
second?
Of course you do.
Second.
All right. Ben, would you take the roll call vote, please?
Absolutely. Dr. Art Evans,
Aye.
Dr. Tom Benzing,
Aye.
Lisa Morner,
Aye.
Dr. Carol Nash,
Aye.
Melanie Stowe.
All right. Motion carries. We'll see some of you later this morning at 10 o'clock, in fact, for the full board meeting. Thank you all for joining us today. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Art.
Thank you.